So Sean, thank you so much for finding time to be here with me today. I know you're very busy, you've got several jobs, you're living a very healthy financial life, and so thank you very much for finding time to chat with me.
Thank you, Peter. It's a pleasure.
Now, you've done something pretty incredible, right? You, several years ago, you bought a home, and within 3 years and 2 months, you were able to pay your entire mortgage off, so you own your home free and clear, which I think is just an incredible accomplishment.
Thank you.
And do you agree that this is not typical for most Canadians? I mean, most Canadians you met they struggle with this idea.
Exactly. I mean, the typical Canadian doesn't pay off their house in 3 years. Perhaps they might pay it off in 20 or 25 years. So I guess that's why my story receives so much attention in the media.
Yeah, and you seem like having done that and having this financial freedom at such a young age it must feel really good.
I definitely wanted to get rid of my mortgage as soon as possible and have the stress out of my life and not have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah, fantastic position to be in. And then, Tangerine, what we're trying to do is trying to help Canadians live better lives and giving them the power to make smart financial decisions like you did. And that's one of the reasons why we really wanted to chat with you today. So the first question I had, was this your goal right from the outset? When you knew you wanted to buy a house, it was your goal right at the beginning to pay off your mortgage as fast as you could?
Yes, definitely. When I first bought my house, I didn't think, to be quite honest, I could pay it off in 3 years. I actually got a 5-year fixed rate mortgage. In hindsight, it probably would have made sense to go variable rate, but I definitely wanted to pay off my mortgage as soon as possible because being somebody where I'm the only person earning income in my household, I just didn't feel comfortable having $250,000 of debt to my name for the next 25 or so years. So my plan was to get rid of it as soon as possible and to live a debt-free life.
Yeah, so how did that goal affect the home that you ended up purchasing?
Buying a house in Toronto, Canada's second most expensive housing market, it was easy to spend a lot of money on a house. When I originally went to the bank, they said I could spend $500,000 on a house. But when I did the math and realized how high the mortgage would be and how much the mortgage payments would be, I just didn't feel comfortable with that. So I actually ended up finding a house for $425,000 and it had everything that I wanted. It was an investment property where I could live in the basement and rent out the upstairs. And of course, most importantly, it was a house that I loved that had everything that I wanted.
That's fantastic. And at such a young age, I guess you were 27 or so when you made this decision. Where did those insights come from? Did they come from inside? Did you have some people who advised you? How did you come up with this view on your own?
Well, my parents were definitely a big inspiration for me. Growing up, my parents always owned a home, so they instilled the importance of home ownership in me. My mother actually was a single mother, and she almost lost her house, so I didn't want to be in the same predicament, so I vowed to pay off my mortgage as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because, I've certainly read about it and spoken about it that parents generally don't feel comfortable giving their kids financial advice. We've done some survey work too, Sean, and it says, many parents would rather feel more comfortable talking to their kids about sex and about drugs than about finances. So it's great that they instilled that in you in such a young age. So look, my next question is, it's 3 years later. Property values have really only gone up, right? Interest rates are still very low. What advice would you have for someone who is inspired by this chat today? And what advice would you give them in this, similar but slightly different environment? Houses are still really expensive. If you were doing it today, would you do it the same way?
Well, today, while mortgage rates are slightly lower than they were, house prices, as you mentioned, are a lot higher. So I definitely have to make sure my expectations were realistic. So back in 2012, I could afford a 3-bedroom house, but today I probably couldn't work with house prices the way they are. So I might have to go for a 2-bedroom house. But with a 2-bedroom house, basically the mortgage payments would be that much more manageable. And if I was able to rent it out, then I could still pay off my mortgage in a reasonable amount of time. So it's all about taking a look at your budget and seeing what works so that you're not stuck with a ton of debt till retirement or longer.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful and a great answer. So the principles apply. Just the rates and house prices can differ, but you can apply the same principles. Sean, again, you're very busy and you've accomplished something great. So thank you very much for finding time to chat with me, and hopefully together we'll help inspire a few other people. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Peter. My pleasure.
Pleasure.